You're listening to the Daily Batuta News Wrap, live on Desert Rock FM.
Hello, you're listening to the Batuta Advocate's Daily News Wrap. My name's Wendell Hussey, and we're coming to you live on Desert Rock FM or wherever it is you get your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure to subscribe or follow the new Daily News Bulletin podcast feed if you haven't done so already. Now, here are the biggest stories from our humble regional news organisation. Starting off with national news today, and they better not thank God for this, says exhausted vaccine scientist pulling 20-hour shifts. These comments come from one stressed local researcher working in an industry that's faced decades of resource stripping in an effort to silence any grave warnings about future health and environmental catastrophes. Speaking from the research station on the outskirts of Batuta, Dr. Natalie Liu, who is burning the midnight oil trying to find Australia's way out of this COVID-19 pandemic, said to us,
"It won't be God's doing if we create the vaccine. There's no holy water here, just caffeine and very limited funding. But I suppose giving all the praise to Jesus Christ is better than the government taking credit for it."
Yes, hopefully they do get the credit they deserve when all this is said and done. We'll stay in science news for this next story now, and the CSIRO has decided against the "We Found a Cure" April Fool's Day prank today. Despite being made up of some of Australia's biggest nerds in the country, the CSIRO are actually well known for not being afraid to have a bit of fun, with their most clicked social media post of 2019 being the April Fool's prank that saw them announce that Doctor Who had just joined their research team. However, with the pandemic growing more and more serious by the day, our brave scientists have opted to stay in the labs and give the funny business a miss until next year. Spokesperson Dr. Brian Niak told the Batuta Advocate that this was a tough decision, but ultimately they would like to leave the spreading of misinformation about COVID-19 to the Murdoch newspapers and Donald Trump. And Chris Ricketts, one of our readers from Batuta Heights, commented on that story saying, "As we approach Easter, people should be focusing on prayer and reflection to get through these difficult times. Silly jokes will not help anybody." So it sounds like he was glad the CSIRO didn't bother. Moving on to some other national news, and just add these bailouts to our tab, says Nation's Millennials. With a smile and a nod in the government's direction today, Australia's young workers have put their collective hands up to cop the latest bailouts on their generational tab. Already resigned to picking up the pieces for the whole climate change thing, the lack of national profit from the resources boom, and the mushrooming age of the workforce, the nation's young people said, just chuck all this coronavirus shit on top as well. Good point, I guess they are just numbers at the end of the day. Next up, and into some sports news, Raelene Castle has tearfully set the Rugby Australia marketing pigeon free today. This comes after CEO Castle took a 50% pay cut, stood down 75% of Rugby Australia's staff, and got rid of most of the old boy ex-Wallabies hanging around for long lunches and fat paychecks every week. So, given that she had to let that many of the old boys club go, it was never going to end well for the poor pigeon responsible for the code's substandard marketing. So, in a touching moment this morning, Raelene Castle shed a tear and let the crack pigeon fly off into the Moore Park grasslands. "Shine on, you crazy pigeon," she whispered. And on that note, that's the end of our news bulletin too. So thanks for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow. But until then, my name's Wendell Hussey. Stay at home and look after yourselves.